Did you know that a standard cotton candy is almost 99% air? That means you're mostly eating sweet, fluffy nothing. However, despite being pure sugar, it was once considered a medical marvel. In fact, a dentist co-invented the first cotton candy machine back in 1897. From carnivals to movie nights, this sugary delight instantly became a global favorite. But how is it made at an industrial scale? Today, we are taking you inside the high-speed world of cotton candy production, where machines spin sugar at over 3,000 RPMs to create millions of treats daily. If you love cool behind-the-scenes content, let's press the subscribe button and dive straight in. In the late 19th century, sugar was a luxury, and candies were often dense, chewy, and expensive to produce. Those candies were infecting the teeth and caused lots of dental problems. Here came two unlikely inventors who changed everything. In 1897, a dentist, Dr. William Morrison, and a confectioner, John C. Wharton, set out to create a new kind of candy. At the time, sugar was seen as an energy booster, and many believed that finely processed sugar was easier on the teeth than hard candies. With that in mind, Morrison and Wharton developed a machine that could take solid sugar, melt it down, and transform it into thin, delicate strands. They named it Fairy It, as fairy floss. When they unveiled their invention at the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair, it was an instant sensation. People marveled at how something so light could be made entirely of sugar. In just a few months, they sold over 68,000 boxes, proving that the world was ready for a new kind of treat. Back then, some even believed that this new whisper-light candy was better for dental health than traditional hard sweets, as it dissolved quickly and required no chewing. Ironically, the same dentist who co-created it saw his invention becoming a leading cause of childhood cavities after some years. Cotton candy production begins with highly purified granulated sugar, typically sourced from refined cane or beet sugar. Industrial manufacturing requires 99.9% pure sugar so that no unwanted minerals, molasses residue, or microscopic impurities interfere with the melting and spinning process. Before entering production lines, the sugar has to undergo a moisture removal process. Since sugar is naturally hygroscopic, even a slight increase in humidity can cause it to form clumps. These clumps are useless in high-speed spinning, so factories use fluidized bed dryers, where controlled hot air removes microscopic traces of moisture without caramelizing the sugar. Once dried, the sugar passes through vibrating sieves, where any remaining clumps are broken down to maintain a uniform size. This ensures that the sugar can flow smoothly through automated feeding systems and melt evenly during spinning. Surprisingly, some manufacturers adjust sugar crystal size as well, depending on regional climate conditions. In drier regions, like Nevada or the Middle East, where humidity is low, slightly finer grains are used to prevent excessive static buildup. In humid areas, like Florida or Southeast Asia, a slightly larger grain size helps to reduce the risk of premature melting. The precision in adjusting the size of the crystal guarantees the signature lightness of the candy regardless of the location wherever you buy it. Cotton candy's vibrant colors are achieved using food-grade powdered dyes and encapsulated flavoring agents. These are chosen for their ability to withstand high temperatures without degrading. Unlike liquid flavors, which could introduce unwanted moisture, powdered flavor compounds are heat-stable and designed to activate at sharp melting points. The sugar is then transferred into stainless steel blending drums, where rotating mechanical paddles evenly distribute the color and flavor particles. The blending speed is carefully controlled to prevent static buildup, which can cause uneven distribution. Factories follow strict formulation guidelines, so that every grain of sugar is coated uniformly to maintain consistent color and flavor intensity across large batches. The prepared sugar will now get loaded into industrial hopper bins, which serve as temporary storage before going into the spinning machines. Factories use precision-controlled augers, which is a type of mechanical screw conveyor, to regulate the sugar flow rate. These augers are super helpful in feeding the right amount of sugar required for each batch. In some advanced systems, the sugar is preheated slightly before entering the chamber. This controlled warming helps to speed up the melting process so that more uniform filaments may form. However, industries also use airflow-controlled feeding mechanisms, which prevent excess sugar from accumulating in the chamber, maintaining a consistent melting to spinning ratio. Don't worry if things are getting overwhelming for you. Handling sugar is one of the most complicated things in chemistry. It is elite scientific stuff. This is the stage when real transformation begins inside the centrifugal head. The sugar enters a heated melting chamber where the temperature ranges between 149 degrees to 177 degrees Celsius. The sugar melts within seconds into a thick, clear syrup. The spinning drum, which is rotating at over 3,000 RPMs, generates immense centrifugal force to push the molten sugar towards the microscopic perforations around the drum's edges. These perforations are 0.3 millimeters in diameter, and they perform a very important job. They control the thickness of forming filaments. When the sugar is expelled through these tiny openings, it will encounter cooler ambient air, which will cause instantaneous solidification. The result will be thousands of ultra-thin sugar strands, which are finer than human hair. Factories implement precision airflow control by using directed air currents to prevent the strands from clumping together prematurely. Now, we have an ideal application of physics in the industry. Cotton candy might taste sweet, but the machines required for its manufacturing have numbed the scientists and engineers for decades. Now, it is time to shape the candies you love. Once the filaments have been formed, they must be collected efficiently while maintaining their delicate structure. The cotton candy accumulates inside a collection chamber, where carefully controlled air currents prevent it from collapsing under its own weight. The industrialists employ rotating drums here, with robotic paddles to shape and layer the fibers into uniform portions. The paddles are designed to move at controlled speeds, preventing excessive compression while ensuring that each batch has the proper volume and density. For continuous production lines, the spun sugar is collected onto a conveyor system, where it is layered and portioned automatically before moving to the packaging stage. The cotton candy is lightly compressed to remove excess air pockets, increasing its stability without compromising its fluffy texture. The candies are ready, but at this point, workers face an arduous challenge to keep moisture away. They implement multiple protective measures to make sure candies remain fluffy and fresh for extended periods. First, packaging machines flush the bags with nitrogen gas before sealing. This process displaces oxygen and prevents sugar crystallization while delaying moisture absorption. Secondly, some manufacturers integrate moisture-absorbing silica gel microparticles directly into the packaging material to add an extra layer of protection. For retail distribution, cotton candy will be packed into high-barrier plastic pouches that prevent air exposure. The package is designed with multiple layers of polymer films to block humidity while preserving the product's light texture. The kids are waiting desperately for these prepared batches, but they must undergo strict quality control protocols at multiple protection stages. The quality tests will begin with microscopic fiber analysis, which will be conducted by using high-power imaging systems to assure that each sugar strand falls within the optimal thickness range. Ideal moisture levels will guarantee that cotton candy remains stable, whether it's sold in a dry Las Vegas fairground or a humid Tokyo summer festival. Today, cotton candy has come a long way from a dentist's laboratory to high-speed industrial production lines. What started as a fairground novelty is now a multi-million-dollar industry, with factories spitting tons of sugar into fluffy strands every day. Whether you enjoy it fresh at a carnival, from a store shelf, or as a gourmet dessert, every bite is a result of engineering, chemistry, and a touch of magic. This marks the end of our episode at Inside the Making. Show us support with your valuable subscription and press the bell icon to see more behind-the-scenes looks at how your favorite foods are made. Next time you take a bite of cotton candy, remember, you're not just eating sugar, you are tasting over a century of history, innovation, and a little bit of sweet irony. Until we meet next time, stay curious, stay sweet. Did you know that over 100 million gummy bears are made every single day? That's enough to circle the Earth twice. However, beyond these playful shapes and shocking stats, there lies a surprisingly human story. From the sticky, molten mix that mirrors the composition of your skin to the intricate molds that are designed with surgical precision, gummy bears are well-thought products. What secrets do these tiny treats hold? And how do factories craft billions of them without missing a step? Let's dive into the astonishingly complex world of gummy bear creation. Gummy bears are fruit gums with the shape of a bear and are about 2.1 centimeters in size. The gummy bear series in the 1980s made these snacks an apple of everyone's eye, and their popularity skyrocketed among every age group. The theme song is still in the ears of fans and innocent kids who now have grown into adults fighting half-life crises. The great success of the series is that it is still relevant among kids today, when they have access to all the content in the world. However, let's not emphasize too much on the gummy bear series and come back straight to the raw materials required to make these delights. The core ingredient we use in gummy bears is gelatin. It gives the candies their unique gummy character, because gelatin is a protein derived from animal tissue that gives thick solutions of gels when placed in water. Expert industrial chemists know this very well, and they use it in appropriate concentration, which forces the gel to take on the texture of chewy, gummy candy. The best part of these gels is that they are thermoreversible. That means they get thinner on heating. This is how gummy bears have the iconic melt-in-the-mouth character when you put them on the tip of your tongue. Both the texture and amount of time a candy takes to melt in the mouth are controlled by the amount of gelatin chemists use in the recipe. As gelatin is a tasteless and odorless protein, it has to be complemented with sugars and flavors to invite the kids for this candy again and again. Industrials use fructose when they want to make gummy bears extra sweet for kids, and use sucrose when they are making gummy vitamins or snacks for adults. To prevent the crystallization of these sugars, corn syrup is used. Corn syrup also adds body to the candy, maintains moisture, and keeps the costs lower. Sorbitol is another sweetener that the manufacturers of gummy bears like so much because it complements basic sugars on one hand and helps the candy to maintain its moisture content. These sweeteners not only provide delicious flavor, which we cannot forget, but they also provide the added benefit of preservation from microbial growth. The next ingredients are the makers of gummy bears: natural and artificial flavors. These candies cannot survive without them, just like we cannot survive without your love. Give us this love of yours by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Natural flavors are extracted from the fruits, honey, berries, molasses, and maple. The impact of these flavors is harnessed and enhanced by the addition of aromatic chemicals, such as methyl-anthranilate and ethyl caproate. Last but not least, we cannot forget about acids, such as acetic, lactic, and malic acids. These acids provide extra essential flavor, and they are excellent in keeping the gummy bears fresh for longer durations. The making of gummy candies begins with compounding. This is a complicated step because specific instructions have to be followed as outlined by the chemists. Factory workers, known as compounders, physically pour the appropriate amount of gummy raw materials into the main mixing tanks. These tanks are colossal. They're equipped with mixing, cooling, and heating capabilities. How much time we require for compounding is an interesting question. The quantity of a batch is an important factor regarding the time. The more the size of the batch, the more time it will take to mix. So, all the raw materials will be in the tanks for 1 to 3 hours. When the batch is done, it will be sent to the quality control laboratory to ensure that it meets the required specifications. Once the compounding has been done and is passed the quality control test, it will either be pumped or transferred to a starch molding machine, known as mogul. Mogul is a giant complicated machine that has 4 parts. First, stackers, which take raw materials. Second, starch buck, which we will explain in a while. Third, depositors, where all the packaging happens. Fourth, stackers again. These will take the end product out of the machine. This machine performs various functions required to mold a perfect gummy candy. It is also called a starch molding machine because this stage is all about starch. In this machine, starch has 3 purposes. First, it prevents the candy from sticking to the candy molds, which allows easy removal and handling in addition to saving the raw material. Second, it holds the gummy candy in place during the drying, cooling, and setting process. Finally, it absorbs moisture from the candies to give them proper texture. The previously filled, cooled, and formed candy will be stacked in trays at the start of the mogul. These trays will be removed from the stack and placed along a conveyor belt into the next section of the machine called starch buck. The next step is to remove all the extra starch we have used in the gummy candies to get our desired results. When the trays enter the starch buck, they will be inverted and gummy candy falls into a vibrating metal known as sieve. The vibrating action of the sieve will make the starch dance and steadily remove all the extra amount that adheres to the gummy bear. After this removal, the rest of the trays will move along the conveyor belt and be transferred to other machines where they can be decorated further and placed into the signature packaging. The removed starch is not a waste product, and it will be reused in the process. Just like other episodes you have watched on Inside the Making, nothing goes wasted in the industry. This removed starch will be cleaned and dried. If it has totally changed the shape, it will be reconditioned. Once it is dry and has gone through all the checking, it will go back again at the start of mogul and be used as an agent to give gummy bears their true essence. The gummy bears that have been taken to the desired shape in the molding process and passed through further necessary decorations are now ready for labeling and packaging. The depositors will receive the trays along the conveyor belt, ready to be packed. The trays will move on the printing table where a board that has the inverse of the mold printed on will press the starch down so the mold will have an indent in it. The depositor section of the mogul may have 30 or more depositors depending on how many imprints are required on the trays. In more modern depositors, the color, flavor, and acids can be added to the gummy base right in the depositor. This allows industrials to speed up the process significantly by making different colors and flavors simultaneously. The gummy bears are ready to be delivered once they are on the stackers and leave the depositors, but they cannot leave the factory before a final quality control test. The characteristics of each batch from the final product will be carefully monitored. Quality control chemists and technicians will check the physical aspects of the candy, which include flavor, texture, and appearance on the touchstone of a standard sample. The abstract characteristics such as taste, texture, and odor will be scrutinized by sensory panels. These are groups of people who are specially trained to notice small differences and enhance the product's authenticity. Once the panelists are sure about the consistency of the product, these newly made batches will be given the green signal to spread happiness on the faces of kids from America and all over the world. Do you remember the taste of your first gummy bear, or the one who bought it for you? Gummy bears have always been the top preference of kids since the 1980s. Modern industries are now making gummy vitamins as they know that the first generation of kids who were fans of their gummy bears need vitamins in their lives now. Let us know in the comments if you want to know what pharmaceutical practices are required to make these essential parts of modern life. Before we sign off, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Last but not least, don't forget to share the video with your gummy bear partners, as sweetness multiplies when shared with loved ones.